Effie wouldn't have got arrested, and we wouldn't have a fucking Rico right now. This is all your dumbass fault.
Dumbass fault?
Yes.
Okay. You, because every bad thing that's happened in my family's been your dumbass fault.
You know, since I met your family, you've been obsessed with me, and I peeped that.
Okay.
That's why you with Effie to try to get back at me. You want to be me, man. I understand that.
When we look at the evolution of characters across the Power universe, Cane Tejada is definitely high on the list. He was the Tejada muscle. He made a lot of mistakes early on, and even though he showed glimpses of being family first, there were times where he seemed like he was just looking out for his own self-interests. But Cane has gone through an evolution which has somewhat cemented him as one of the fan favourites, even though he has gone up against and done some shady shit against Tariq St Patrick. And that's a huge testament to the writers for flipping the script, and also to Woody McLean who plays Cane. So in the rest of this breakdown, we're going to be running through an in-depth breakdown of Cane's character from his perspective, some clues that may hint at some twists. We're also going to look at his evolution, his relationship with the Tejadas, and where he might be in terms of his mindset in Season 4, especially after Dru and Diana's betrayal. There's also his relationships with Effie, Tariq and Brayden, and a few other characters who I would like to see him come across or up against in Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4. Chaos, brute force, obsession, and silly mistakes is what we associated with Cane's character early in Season 1, but he was introduced as a muscle to the Tejada family as well as being a bit of a mama's boy. As time went on, we saw how he wanted to be more than just a muscle. He wanted to make decisions and play more of a key role. However, this is where the issues with Tariq started. From birth, Cane was taught that family only does family business, so when you bring in outside people, it's confusing and blurry to someone like Cane that was taught, growing up, this is how it should be. Now you bring in someone from the outside that's not family, and has basically been ruining everything, so that's just Cane's perspective of everything. Now those were some quotes from Woody McLean's thought process and his perspective on the Tariq situation. And I always make a point of how we need to look at different perspectives, because it does help us understand the thought process and decision making of why characters make certain decisions and so on. Especially because Cane was taught, you never discuss family business with outsiders, but here was Monet bringing in an outsider. So you can kind of see Cane's frustration. And look, let's not get it twisted, Cane is also kind of right when it does come to Tariq. Tariq may be the only person who hasn't gone behind Monet's back, and he might actually be the perfect son she's always wanted in terms of business. There might even be many who are also rooting for Tariq St Patrick, but let's not forget who he is and also what he's done in the past. He is the cause of many innocent lives. He's played a huge role in the demise of the St Patricks, and he's even admitted himself, anybody who gets close to him or he cares for, he ends up hurting.
And I deserve what I get.
What you mean you deserve what you get?
I hurt everyone that cares about me, even my father. But even he couldn't see until it was too late.
So he said it himself, and we only have to look at his nightmare that he had in Season 2 to back this up. Although some definitely deserved what they got, others not so much. But this is Cane's mindset when it comes to the damage he believes Tariq is causing. I think it just comes from the fact that everything was better when Tariq wasn't involved. He said it. He said that everything that's fucked up in my family has happened when you came around, period. Cane sees the BS in people, whether it was Mecca being a narc, seeing Tariq wasn't a good guy from the beginning, even Salim. He said that his name is hella fake, so I don't think it changes for Tariq either. He also went on to explain how he was never obsessed with Tariq, but rather saw him as competition, which does make sense from Cane's perspective. He saw this outsider coming to the Tejada household who basically took his role under Monet, a role which Cane felt as if he was working towards and a role which he deserved. Cane would have also felt this betrayal from his family, because early on he was promised that when the time was right, he was the one who would be taking over the family operation, not Dru. So from Cane's perspective, he felt betrayed that Monet chose Tariq over him, and also that Lorenzo lied to him. Now this made him go and look for that responsibility and leadership elsewhere, which he did with the Guaps. In other words, he was making moves that benefited himself rather than the family.
After what he did to Zeke? After what he did to me? He's breathing because he's loyal.
Guap should have been taken care of. There's no question about what Cane should have done after the Zeke move. Lil Guap had to be taken off the chessboard. But because he felt this sense of betrayal from Lorenzo, along with being kicked out of the Tejada household, with Monet bringing in an outsider in Tariq, he did what was best for himself. He wasn't thinking about the Tejadas at this point.
You stole from your own family.
Fuck no. I created an opportunity for them that they didn't even know they needed. I helped them.
In Season 2, he came across Mecca who gave him that opportunity that he was looking for. And even though Cane smelt that he was a narc, what he didn't know was that he was Monet's former lover and also Zeke's father. But regardless, I think Mecca was that guy that was kind of there for Cane when his father wasn't, and he taught him a lot. I feel if you give Cane that opportunity and surround him with the right people, I think it could really work. and Mecca's role can't go unnoticed when it comes to Cane's development. He was there at a time when he was kicked out of the Tejada household, his father Lorenzo was still in prison, and Monet chose Tariq over Cane. So you can see why Cane kinda went looking for this respect elsewhere, because that's all he ever wanted. He wanted to command respect beyond fear, which ironically is something we just spoke about on Raising Kanan. But Cane wanted to have a role in an organization which he felt as if he deserved. So Mecca kind of came back to New York and crossed paths with Cane just at the right time. Now he learned a lot from Mecca, who was ex-military, a master manipulator, strategic, and later what we learned, a bit of a playboy. And that's why I think there was a bit of a missed opportunity with Mecca's character. He wasn't just strong, manipulating, and strategic. He had a history and ties to Felipe Lobos. He also knew of Uncle Tommy and what Tariq did to Ghost, most likely through Blanca Rodriguez because he was her CI. So I do feel Mecca should have lived a little longer, especially because Lorenzo died 5 episodes later anyway, but that's a topic for a different day. With Cane, he took him under his wing and taught him a lot. He taught him how to be aware of his surroundings, using Instagram to track locations, when to speak and when not to speak, how you have to prepare for war, because if you have to stop and prepare, you've already lost, and so much more.
Look who's finally learning from me. I like how you're thinking.
Despite all the manipulation and Mecca's motivations, he definitely had a huge impact on Cane. And moving into season 3, you could definitely tell this was a different Cane Tejada. He was taking a step back from situations and thinking outside the box. He wasn't acting on pure emotion, shooting first and thinking later, just like he would have done in seasons 1 and 2. There was a shift in mentality, and that allowed him to take the position which he desired for so long, albeit through blackmail.
You forget I'm the real head of this family. I built this shit, me, and my fucking instincts are to always lead and protect. Everybody knows that, except you.
Now, this relationship with Lorenzo had a huge impact on Cane's growth and transformation. At the beginning of season 3, their relationship was clouded through conflict and differing opinions, as well as Cane getting one over on his father, which was actually a callback to season 1. But later when Lorenzo pushed Cane out the way, putting himself in harm's way, it opened Cane's eyes to the bigger picture. It made him realize the value and importance of not just Lorenzo, but the value of family and having someone in your corner. Despite all of his flaws and mistakes, Lorenzo was the glue for the Tejadas, and Cane realized the importance of unity only after Lorenzo put his life on the line, and more so after his death. I think it affected him a lot. I feel like Lorenzo was the glue to the family. He wanted what was best for everyone, whether it was Diana going to school or being super supportive of Dru. I just think Lorenzo was the glue, and now the glue is no longer there. You can physically see the family just falling apart. I think it was super important for us to have Lorenzo, and now that he's gone, I think everything is just going to keep going left. And when you saw these two come together and having a real father and son moment, where Cane said he had his back, you just knew what was going to happen next. Time was ticking for Lorenzo, although I don't think Cane would have ever thought his mother would have been the one behind it. Which does go back to Cane's growth and development. He knew that his mother had something to do with Lorenzo's death, and despite her threats, he knew what 2 + 2 was. Now, following Lorenzo's death, he understood the importance of being family first and sticking together. Just like Woody McClane spoke about Lorenzo being the glue, he wanted to make sure he continued his father's legacy of being family first. Whereas Dru, he started to become a little reckless. He started to make moves that the early Cane would have made, and the turning character was very similar to Marvin and Lou in Raising Kanan. We saw them completely flip the script, with Lou becoming the more reckless one, and the one who was letting his family down. Whereas Marvin was there for Duke. He realized he made mistakes, and he tried to right those wrongs. The same also goes for Cane. Growing over time, not just as a character on Ghost or any other power show, but also in real life, it requires self-reflection, realizing the moments you were wrong or where you made mistakes. You have to look at the chessboard and realize when your rook or bishop is trapped or in a bad position. Somewhere along the way, you made a mistake. You have to take self-accountability. So you have to be willing to develop personally by taking a step back and looking at the entire chessboard to see where you went wrong, to then allow you to move 2 steps forward. And I think this is where Cane was in season 3. In season 3, he was challenged in ways where he wasn't challenged before, which forced him to grow and mature. For example, nobody would have been more happy to see Tariq burned by Effie, but in this particular moment, Cane understood the assignment. They had to think about the bigger picture, and this stemmed from the growth in Cane's character. Now, on Cane and Effie, something the writers did to humanize Cane's character that much more was this relationship with Effie. Cane comes from broken love. It's a product of deep emotional pain. It showed a different side to his character. He's not just a badass, he actually cares. He's actually willing to pay that tuition. He's actually willing to put that suit on and go to jail to try and fight for his love. Yeah, that's super genuine. I don't think he would have gone down the route he did, pressing everybody about Effie and them trying to set her up if he wasn't genuine. And just to add to this, Alex Lepre also said Cane and Effie have always made more sense because they're so much more alike. They would do anything to protect the ones that they love, but they're also out for survival. So this relationship with Effie was one of the hot topics of season 3 because you could just tell it was brewing for a very long time. There was a lot of flirting, more so from Cane's side, where later on he found himself in the right place at the right time, when Effie kind of needed someone, which is actually really rare when it comes to Effie's character. Normally when we look at Effie, she's super independent. She doesn't rely on anyone because she hates owing people. She's her own woman and she's always made a point of how she's had to do it on her own, without her parents, not relying on Tariq and so on.
I said no. I'm not going to be your little charity case. I'll figure something else out.
Now, even though she said she didn't want Cane's charity, she did like the fact that he went above and beyond to pay for her tuition. You could tell by this smile she liked the gesture. She liked the fact that Cane was in her corner. And I do know in comments everywhere on social media you have got people calling Cane a simp or whatever. But look, let's take a look at this in a more of a mature manner and have a look at this through Cane's glasses. The reason why Cane really likes Effie is because she's super independent. She's strong. She's all about survival and in a way, she's very much like Cane. Woody McLean also said, I remember Courtney Kemp mentioning men like women in the image of their mother. I don't know if that's a theory that she had. So that's the theory that is kind of motivating Cane and Effie. I feel like Cane sees a little bit of Monet in Effie with the way she moves. He loves the strong, independent woman type of figure. So I believe that's what works for him. Now, having said that, will it work between them in the long term? I think this is where we start to enter Blair territory because there is going to be so many other factors at play in season 4. And as much as Cane likes Effie and as much as Alex says they're very much alike as characters, we can only go on the evidence, facts and findings that we do have. And the evidence when it comes to Effie is she cannot be trusted because she's out for number 1, herself. And look, there's nothing actually wrong in that because at the end of the day, you do have to look out for number 1. That's why Effie hates relying on people to get shit done, or when it comes to her future. If she's in control, then she knows where she stands. She can control her life the way she wants. And if she's in control, then she doesn't owe anyone. But the fact is when it comes to Effie is, she just can't be trusted. Tariq's been burned before, and I think Cane will only learn the hard way. And eventually Tariq will be proven right, and so will his moms. But who knows? Maybe they are right for each other. Maybe they can make things work. Only time will tell. But based on the evidence and the history, at this moment in time, we can only assume it will most likely end in heartbreak, and heartbreak for Cane Tejada. Now, another heartbreaking moment for Cane will be when Dru and Diana's betrayal is also revealed.
It was Tariq.
Tariq?
He thinks Monet sent Tommy after his mom. He's looking for payback.
Cane definitely loves his family, more so after Lorenzo's death. He feels as if they have to stick together, show unity and accept who they are. Family dynamics are weird, you know what I mean. You can be mad at your mom or dad in real life, but you still gotta ride for them in a way, right? I feel that's what happens when it comes to Dru and Diana. However, having said that, this is one of the quotes which I probably disagree with, because I do think things will change in season 4, especially when it comes to the reveal around Dru and Diana planning to take Monet out and pinning it on Tariq. I once said that I expect the Tejada household to lose one family member as each season passes by, and I am going to stick with that prediction. I do think that as they sit around this table, there will be one more empty chair every season, and this time around, I think Cane will play a crucial role. When he finds out, he's going to feel so betrayed, because as he said, he's got a lot of love for his family, he's a mama's boy. So when he finds out that Dru and Diana were the ones who set this whole assassination attempt up, it's going to break him, because he's going to have a decision to make. I also feel like Cane will be the first one to find out, because out of everyone, it would put him in a real dilemma. You know, what does he do? Does he tell his mother the truth? Does he confront Dru and Diana? Does he go to Tariq and tell him he was right all along? How does he go about this whole situation? I do think because Cane has become family first, him being mama's boy, but also wanting to do right by his siblings, it does make sense that he's the one to get put in what I would call a really shitty situation. I also raised a theory in my last Go Season 4 breakdown of Diana potentially covering her tracks and putting the blame on Dru, because I do think it's time that one of them does bite the dust. And out of both Dru and Diana, I do feel like Dru is most likely to go. I feel like he's becoming a lot more reckless and his storyline does seem like it may come to an end. Whereas with Diana, you still feel there is a bit more growth to come. She's been mentored by Monet, she's growing as each season passes by, and she's actually made a couple of very savage moves. So I do feel like there is a bit more they can do with Diana's character. But will it be Cane that ends Dru? Will it be a Cane and Abel storyline? Who knows? I am intrigued to see what your thoughts are when it comes to this whole reveal, and whether you think it makes sense that Cane finds out first, especially because he does have a knack of smelling people's bullshit.
I don't think we got enough time for that.
I will cut that fucking hand off.
When did baby Rambo's balls drop, huh?
Now, when it comes to Brayden and Cane, they have had a bit of a strange relationship. They met all the way back in season 1, where Cane threw him and his brother on the corners of Queens, but where he actually took a liking to Brayden. In season 2, Cane started to manipulate him against Tariq, which was one of the lessons he learned from Mecca, target the weak link. We then saw him on a few missions together, but it was only when Tariq was arrested did Brayden realize that he was being played and that he couldn't trust Cane. So the relationship for the majority of time has been pretty much Cane bullying, making fun, and manipulating Brayden, although I do think that is set to change. We saw Cane come into the Western household taking a family heirloom, which was a watch. And on a quick side note, I have raised this question before around power and their obsession with watches.
Give me the goddamn watch!
We've seen so many examples across multiple seasons where they pointed towards watches, with some even being used as recording devices. Zack saying his watch was a gift, 2-Bit still having one of Ghost's Rolexes, and this was another. So that's just a little side plot I do think we should keep in mind, because as I always say, nothing is a coincidence in power, especially on Ghost. Now when it comes to Brayden and Cane, I do think the tide is turning, because Brayden's character is turning. Cane questioned when did Brayden's balls drop, and they dropped when he took his uncle off the chessboard, and for the first time we saw Brayden going at Cane with Tariq stepping in between. Let's also not forget we also saw Brayden taking a shot, and I'm not sure whether he hit Cane on the shoulder or whether he just caught his gun. So will kind of Cane be recovering himself, because Woody McClane did tease that we don't know whether if Cane survived, although on that quote, again, this is another one that I would disagree with. I do think he's playing the audience. There is no way they kill off a fan favourite in Cane just yet, so I don't think we have to be worried about Cane going anytime soon. But the dynamic between Cane and Brayden is something to be mindful of, especially if Cane continues to terrorize the Westerns, and also because Brayden is beginning to take a little dark turn. Now last but not least, where are we going to be with Cane and Tariq St Patrick heading into season 4? We've been through the history where Cane kind of blames Tariq around everything bad that's happened with the Tejadas since he's come around, which I kind of do agree with and disagree with. I do think Tariq does bring trouble, but so does Cane Tejada. He's not completely innocent either, because he's also made a hell of a lot of mistakes. But going into season 4, at first, you would expect Cane to be on the hunt for Tariq, for them to be in a real battle once again. Let's not forget he was told that Tariq was the one who hit Monet, so I'd expect nothing less than him going after Tariq with revenge in mind. However, this is where I want to bring it back to the clue I mentioned at the very beginning of this breakdown. Did Cane shift his gun over to Noma's bodyguard, and was his intention to get rid of the bodyguard instead of Tariq? The position in which the bodyguard is standing in right behind Tariq, but slightly to the right of him, for us obviously on the left looking at it from this angle, you do see Cane making a movement over to that side with his gun, just before Brayden cut the lights. So was he actually going to pull the trigger on Tariq or the bodyguard? Because none of us believe in coincidences at this point, and we should all be expecting a huge twist when it comes to this battle with Noma. So I do think it was worth a mention. There was a slight shuffle and movement in that direction. Cane seemed to be holding his gun in, conveniently in the direction where the bodyguard was. So this is something to definitely keep in mind, because who knows what was said, who had a meeting with who behind the scenes, before this meeting at the warehouse, just like with what happened with Diana, Dru, and Kay Egan. But in terms of the storyline itself, it's only a matter of time before the truth is revealed, and honestly, I would not be surprised to see them flipping the script where they're all forced to work together again. We all saw how Ghost and Tommy tried to kill each other in Power, but how Jason Mitchell put a stop to that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen in Ghost, especially when Cane does find out the truth that Tariq wasn't behind the assassination attempt. I do think that will change things. I know he doesn't like Tariq, but at the end of the day, facts are facts, and Tariq wasn't the one who took the shot at Monet, betrayed him, or lied to him. In fact, he's the only one who hasn't gone behind Monet's back. So as much as Cane may not like Tariq, I do think they'll be on the same page eventually with the Dru and Diana situation. Although I do think we are in for a huge twist, as we always are with Ghost. Out of all the Power spin-offs, Ghost is the one which is known to throw us huge surprises, and this whole war between the Tejadas and Tariq definitely won't go down the way we think it will. Now elsewhere with Cane's character, something I would like to see in Ghost Season 4 is a battle with 2-Bit. I think these are two real street soldiers who are very loyal when it comes to the streets. Both are very street smart, strategic, and tough, with both wanting to command respect and fear in the streets. Although when it comes to 2-Bit, honestly speaking, I'm not too sure which direction they take his character, because he was off the show for almost 2 seasons. Do they bring him back in as an ally for Tariq? Will he continue bullying him for money, or will he need to be taken care of? Will he move over to Chicago, which I do believe has been ruled out by the casting crew of Force on Twitter? So let's see which direction they take 2-Bit's story. But Cane vs 2-Bit, that is something I'm sure we would all love to see. But that's where we are with Cane's character. After running through his backstory and evolution, we find him up against Tariq again. But is there a twist to this war? Was Cane aiming at Tariq or was he aiming for the bodyguard? Where will he be when Dru and Diana's betrayal is revealed? Will that change things? Will he grow closer to Effie, and is that relationship just destined for heartbreak? And where do you guys see this battle with Brayden heading? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on all things Cane Tejada. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.